I still remember the moment as if it was frozen in time. My heart was racing, my palms sweaty, and I felt this mix of excitement and nerves swirling inside me. I had just handed my son the keys to a brand new $300,000 SUV for his 40th birthday, a car that most people only dream about. I had spent months planning it, making sure every detail was perfect. The color, the leather seats, the sleek exterior, the custom features that made it uniquely his. I imagined the look on his face when he saw it, the gratitude, the surprise, maybe even tears. But instead of the reaction I expected, he raised his glass, laughed, and said, "A toast to the money well spent on me." I froze. Was I wrong for giving him such an extravagant gift? Should I have done something different? Tell me if you would have done the same thing in my shoes. To understand why this moment hit me so hard, you need to know the story leading up to it. My son, Daniel, had always been ambitious. From a young age, he had this drive, this hunger to succeed that both impressed and worried me. He was never satisfied with mediocrity. In his 20s, he started his own tech company, and over the years, he turned it into something respectable. Not massive by Silicon Valley standards, but definitely enough to make him comfortable. I never wanted him to feel like he couldn't dream bigger, which is why I always encouraged him to aim high. But at the same time, I wanted him to understand the value of hard work, perseverance, and gratitude. That was my philosophy, and I thought I had raised him with it in mind. Daniel had always been a bit flamboyant, enjoying the finer things in life. Luxury watches, designer clothes, vacations in exotic places, he loved them all. But I never thought he was entitled. Or at least that's what I told myself. So, when his 40th birthday was approaching, I wanted to make it something unforgettable. I contacted a dealership that specialized in high-end vehicles and worked behind the scenes to customize this SUV to perfection. It wasn't just about spending money. It was about showing him that I recognized his accomplishments, that I appreciated him, and that I wanted him to feel celebrated in a way that reflected his life's work. The day of the birthday party, everything was perfect. Friends, family, and colleagues were gathered at our home. The garden was decorated with fairy lights, the champagne was chilled, and the table was laden with his favorite foods. I had rehearsed what I would say when I presented the gift. I imagined the gasp, the hug, the "thank you, Dad," that would melt my heart. And then it happened. The moment I wheeled the SUV out into the driveway, gleaming under the afternoon sun, I saw the surprise flicker across his face. It was there for a second, quick, almost imperceptible, and then it vanished. Daniel walked up to the car, ran his hand along the polished surface, and I thought, finally, the moment I had been waiting for. I handed him the keys with a trembling hand and said, "Happy 40th, Daniel. You deserve this." He took the keys, turned them over in his hand, and then he raised his glass, grinned, and with this self-assured, almost arrogant tone said, "A toast to the money well spent on me." The laughter that followed wasn't the warm, joyous kind. It was sharp, mocking, and aimed at the room rather than at me. I felt this sudden sinking feeling in my chest. The pride I had carried all day, felt like it, had been ripped out of me in an instant. I wanted to laugh it off, to brush it aside, but I couldn't. For the first time, I really saw Daniel, not the little boy I raised, not the young man I cheered for, but the man who had changed, the man who saw everything as transactional. The party continued, but my mind was elsewhere. Every toast, every cheer, every laugh from our friends and family felt like background noise. I was replaying his words over and over in my head. Money well spent on me. Did he really think this was about the money? Did he not see the thought, the effort, the emotional weight behind the gift? Over the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The one who valued family. Maybe he was joking. Maybe he didn't know how to express gratitude. Maybe he was just overwhelmed. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just a one-time misstep. This was a pattern. Over the years, Daniel had become increasingly materialistic, increasingly self-centered. He always expected more, never acknowledged the sacrifices others made for him, and somehow always made it about himself. I had hoped that a gift like this, something so personal and generous, would reach him, would make him see the love behind it. And instead, it felt like a punch to the gut. I thought about confronting him, about having a serious conversation. But every time I tried to bring it up, I hesitated. What would I say? How could I explain the depth of my feelings without sounding like I was criticizing him for enjoying something I bought him? The more I thought about it, the more frustrated I became. And yet, there was also this strange, creeping pride. I had the means to give him this gift. I had the ability to make someone's life more joyful in a way that most people could only dream about. The question was, did he even appreciate it? Or had I wasted all that effort on someone who couldn't see beyond his own desires? A week later, I decided to visit him at his office to talk face to face. I wanted to understand why he had reacted the way he did, to see if there was some deeper reason. As soon as I walked in, he greeted me with his usual charm, but I could sense a barrier between us, a wall that hadn't been there before. We sat down in his office, and I took a deep breath. "Daniel," I began, "I wanted to talk about the gift, about your reaction." He raised an eyebrow, smiled politely, and said, "Dad, it's an amazing car. Really, thank you, but I'm just being me. I can't help how I celebrate." I felt this mix of anger and disbelief. I wanted to shout, to make him see that this wasn't just about celebration. It was about respect, gratitude, acknowledgement. But instead, I stayed quiet, let him finish, and left with a heavy heart. On the drive home, I thought about all the times I had gone out of my way for him, all the sacrifices I had made, and suddenly, the SUV didn't feel like a gift anymore. It felt like a mirror reflecting who he had become. Now, here's where it gets even more complicated. A few days later, I received an invitation from one of Daniel's colleagues, a casual dinner gathering. Curiosity got the better of me, so I went. I didn't know what to expect, but I was unprepared for what I saw. As I entered the restaurant, I noticed Daniel showing off the SUV to everyone, talking about it as if it were the crowning achievement of his birthday. He boasted about the features, the customizations, and then he laughed, pointing to me across the table. Can you believe he actually spent this much on me? The room erupted in laughter, and I felt every eye on me, the judgment, the shock, the silent question of whether I condoned this behavior. At that moment, I realized something important. This wasn't just about money. It was about boundaries, about values, about respect. I had given him something extraordinary, and yet he had reduced it to a status symbol, a tool for self-aggrandizement, completely ignoring the love and thought behind it. I felt a surge of emotion I hadn't expected, sadness, anger, and a strange sense of clarity. I needed to set things straight, but I also needed to do it in a way that wouldn't destroy what little bridge of respect we still had. So that night, I sat down and wrote him a letter. Not a confrontational one, not a list of grievances, but a heartfelt message explaining how I felt, why I gave him the gift, and what I had hoped it would mean. I poured my soul into those words, expressing the pride I felt for his accomplishments, the love I had for him, and the disappointment that came with seeing him prioritize image over substance. I didn't want to shame him. I wanted him to understand. I left the letter on his desk the next morning and didn't say a word. The response took a few days, and when it finally came, it was a mix of surprise and guilt. Daniel called me and said, "Dad, I didn't realize how my words made you feel. I thought I was celebrating, but I see now that I hurt you, and I'm sorry." It wasn't a grand epiphany, but it was a start. For the first time, I saw a glimpse of the son I had raised, the one who valued family, who could understand the weight of love behind actions, not just the material things. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have confronted him directly, given him space, or let it slide? How do you teach someone the value of gratitude without turning it into a lecture? Think about it for a moment, because the next part might surprise you. After that conversation, things slowly started to shift. Daniel began showing more appreciation, not just for gifts, but for the effort and thought behind them. The SUV didn't change him overnight, but it became a reminder, a tangible symbol of the love I had for him, and the expectations I held for how we treat one another. Our relationship deepened, and over time, I realized that gifts, no matter how extravagant, are never just about objects. They are about intention, about connection, about respect. And if that respect isn't reciprocated, no material possession can fix it. Looking back, I don't regret giving him the SUV. I regret that it took a moment of sharp disappointment to teach us both something crucial. I learned that generosity isn't just about spending money. It's about understanding the person you're giving to and the values you hope to reinforce. Daniel learned that gratitude is not just polite words or a toast, but a recognition of effort and love. And while the laughter that day stung, it ultimately led to a deeper understanding between us. So if you've ever found yourself in a situation where a gift didn't land the way you hoped, or someone's reaction shocked you, remember that the real lesson often comes after the initial sting. It's in the conversations, the reflections, and the willingness to bridge the gap between intention and perception. And if you were on my side in this story, like this video, subscribe for more stories like this, and share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. I'll see you all in the next story.